Roughly 2.5 years into its life, the PS5 has already built up a sizable user base and quite an impressive library. It's still in the early stages of its life cycle though. After all, the PS4 is still alive and kicking to some degree, which means there are plenty of its useful features and varied user experience enhancements that many who have the console might not even be aware of. To that end, to help you optimize your PS5 experience, here we're going to run through a list of a few handy tips and tricks for the console that you should keep in mind. Game sharing. Sony introduced a ton of excellent new social and sharing features during the PS4 generation, and one in particular that many got quite a bit of use out of was its excellent game sharing system. The PS5 brings it over almost exactly as is. Essentially, if you log into, say, a friend or family member's account and then head into the settings menu to enable console sharing and offline play, their entire library of games will become accessible to you, even if you're not logged in with their account. Of course, this will only work with digital games, but if, say, there's a game that you want to play without having to buy it, this is a great way of doing just that. Avoiding PSN spoilers.
Clive!
Look who's here to save the day.
It's easy to keep track of your friends' activities or a particularly popular games community thanks to the PS5 user experience, but often the images and clips that the console chooses to show you can inadvertently end up spoiling some things. Thankfully, there's a feature in the console to address that. In the Save Data in Game/App Settings sections of the settings menu, you can enable spoiler warnings so that sections of the games that you haven't yet played yourself won't be spoiled for you. DualSense battery. The DualSense is an excellent controller, probably the best a PlayStation console has ever had at launch, though it's not without its issues. Like most modern controllers, its battery life isn't great and usually lasts only about 5 to 6 hours, if that. If you head into the controller settings menu though, you can tinker with various options to prolong your DualSense's battery life, including the intensity of the haptic feedback and adaptive triggers features, the brightness of the controller lights, and more. Search shortcut. There's a good chance that the search function is something you get quite a bit of use out of, especially if you're someone who likes to browse the PlayStation Store a lot, and this feature, though pretty minor, can be a useful one for that purpose. On the console's home screen, just press triangle to instantly jump to the search button. It's quick and easy and saves you a couple of seconds, which is always a good thing. Quick mute function. Similar to the search shortcut, the PS5 has plenty of other quick little shortcuts built in to make its user experience smoother. For instance, pressing the button on the DualSense that's right below the home button mutes your microphone, while holding it down mutes all of your audio as well. It's a quick and snappy way of being able to mute your game if you ever need to without having to frantically pat around your couch to find the TV remote. Speaking of which, jump to home. Here's another useful shortcut and one that many have missed. A great number of users who migrated from the PS4 to the PS5 have bemoaned how its home button doesn't function the same way when you're playing a game, because rather than taking you straight to the home screen like it did on the PS4, it instead opens the control center as an overlay with the game still running in the background. To go straight to the home menu, rather than having to select it from the control center, you can simply press and hold the home button, which works pretty much exactly like pressing it once did on the PS4. HDMI Link. This is a feature that's pretty standard in consoles now, although the PS5 didn't have it until a few months after launch, but it's one that a lot of people end up missing, which is a shame because it can be quite useful. If rather than having to use your TV remote to turn on your screen and potentially change inputs to be able to use your console, you'd rather just have your TV turn on automatically when you turn on your PS5. That's exactly what HDMI Link enables. Similarly, you can also turn off your TV to automatically send your console into rest mode. It's a particularly useful feature if you have multiple devices hooked up to your screen, or if you lose your TV remote a lot. Pin to home. What games you see on your PS5's dashboard keeps changing over time depending on what games you're playing, but there is of course only a certain number of tiles the console can show on its home screen. If, however, there's a game that you want to always keep pinned to your dashboard, even if it's something you might not play for a while, you can do that by pressing the option button on the game's tile and enable the Keep on Home option. Pop-ups. The PS5 sure likes to flood you with pop-up notifications to keep you informed on everything from what it's installing and any messages you've received to a variety of other pop-ups. Those can get pretty annoying, especially if you're trying to peacefully watch or play something. To shut those off, at least for a while, you can simply enable a Do Not Disturb mode from the Notifications tab in the Control Center. Web browser. The PS5's lack of a proper web browser isn't a major sticking point for a lot of people, since that's obviously not something many use their consoles for. But given the fact that it was a basic feature present in the PS4 as well, it is a little baffling. If, however, you're insistent for some reason on browsing the internet on your PS5, you can do that by typing in and sending a URL, any URL in a private message, after which you can click on that link to be taken directly to that page. So yes, the PS5 does have a web browser hidden beneath the surface, though clearly Sony doesn't want you to use it given how inconvenient it is. You can, however, pin the browser to the side of the screen and simultaneously play games, so there's that. Game lists. Another feature that the PS4 had but the PS5 didn't, at least at launch, was being able to make your own folders. Thankfully, however, unlike the web browser situation, this is something that Sony has remedied. The PS5 does now allow users to make their own custom folders, or game lists as it calls them. Head to the Your Collection tab in your library, and here you can make game lists, each of which you can add 100 games to. It makes sorting your collection much easier, something that's quite useful if your library is particularly large, which it very well may be if you've been in the PlayStation ecosystem for a while now. Hopefully, Sony will add more new features to game lists going forward, because as of right now, it's pretty basic. And that brings us to the end of the video. A quick request before we conclude. We upload new videos every single day, and if you like what we are doing, please consider subscribing. It really helps us out. Also, don't forget to enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon so that you can receive daily video updates. Thanks for watching.